Today is June 29th, 2011, and today Joe and I are talking to Agnes, and how do you pronounce your last name?
Duisen.
Okay, how do you spell that?
D-U-I-S-E-N.
And Agnes, also we have your son, Bob, and
Sharon.
daughter-in-law Sharon. Well, it's nice to have to meet you, and we asked to talk to you because someone told us that you worked here in Bridgeton at a restaurant.
Yes.
But maybe before we get into that, let's back up a little bit and maybe we'll talk about first. Would you mind if I asked when you were born?
1926.
And where were you born?
Salisbury, Missouri.
Where is Salisbury?
Close to Moberly.
And is that
That's close to Columbia. Not too far from Columbia.
okay? And how long did you live there?
About 14 years. I came to Bridgeton in 1940.
And what brought you to Bridgeton?
I came down to live with my sister and her husband, my older sister.
So your sister already lived here in this area?
Yeah, it was Pauline and Joe Judy
Where did they live?
on Raymond.
Okay.
And then later we moved to Midview.
And now may I ask your son, were you born here then in Bridgeton?
No, I was born in St. Charles,
Well, at the hospital.
At the hospital
we
in St.
lived
Charles.
in Bridgeton.
St. Joseph.
A lot of people who have lived in Bridgeton all their lives were born at St. Joe's.
Right.
Right.
And
Not unusual at all.
No,
well, tell us, how did you meet your husband? What was your husband's name?
Joe.
Joe?
Mhm.
And how'd you meet him?
Well, I went to work at his mom and dad's restaurant,
And what was the restaurant?
Evening Star.
Evening Star.
And it was on St. Charles Rock Road, just about where the Cloverleaf is to go to St. Charles. And they had a house next door, which they built in 1926.
and there's a cloverleaf with St. Charles Rock Road and
Yeah.
70
Uh-huh.
was right there.
And Joe had a sister named Doris. They had 2 children.
And what kind of work did he do?
The father,
No, Joe.
my husband, he was a construction worker.
Okay.
And then he worked for Anheuser-Busch in later years.
Was he from this area originally?
They lived in Richmond Heights, and they moved to Bridgeton in 1926 when he was 4 years old.
And where did they live?
That was where I told you the restaurant was. They had a house next door.
Oh. We always like to ask people that have been in Bridgeton a while about what they know or had experience with the Westlake Amusement Park. So how close was the restaurant from Westlake Amusement Park?
Well, you know where the Natural Bridge and the Rock Road, the amusement park was right by that. To the right of Natural Bridge.
Where the church is now?
Exactly, where the church is.
Basically where the church, the John Calvin Church is right now, what used to be the Circuit City building. I just
Right.
kind of want to place this for everyone.
Right.
That used to be the Westlake Amusement Park.
And right across the road from that was a restaurant named Mammy's Inn.
Mammy's Inn. We've heard a little bit about Mammy's
Now
Inn.
they serve delicious barbecue.
Do you know the name of the owner?
No.
Okay. But what about the Evening Star? That's what you said your in-laws had.
Yes, my father-in-law died in 1933, but they kept the restaurant open. And my niece has a picture of him standing in front of the restaurant, leaning on a sign, and it says plate lunch is 25 cents.
Wow. A thing of the past, that's for sure.
You can't buy anything for 25 cents.
I went to work there when Doris and Joe both got full-time jobs, and they hired me. I didn't know any of them, and I was a waitress.
Was that your first job?
No, I had worked at a couple jobs for just a short time, but that was the main one.
Well, let me ask you, where did you go to school?
In Salisbury,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
when you moved out this area, you weren't in school anymore?
No, I had graduated.
Okay, all right. So you happened to apply and get a job at this restaurant.
I walked in the door and that was it. I was hired. And they closed it, let's see, that was late 1940 or 41. And they closed it, I think, in 42. And sometime after, about 3 or 4 months after that is when Joe and I started dating. And we got married in 44,
Where did you get married?
St. Gregory.
In
Church.
St. Anne or?
Yeah, Father Hoffman, and he was born in 47. And I told you my father-in-law died in 33.
At 33 years of age?
No.
Oh, in 1933.
1933.
Thank
They
you.
kept the restaurant open for after that, with Doris and Joe's help. And then when they both went to work is when they hired me, and then eventually closed the restaurant.
Grandma ran the restaurant.
And Grandma ran it.
His mom.
She's grandma to me. I'll probably have to have a glass of water. And anyway, where was I?
Well, let me ask you something. Since you were a waitress, did people give you tips? Was like now the practice of tipping is pretty much expected?
It might be a nickel. I think one time I got a half $1, and I thought that was great.
So really the,
It wasn't much tipping, no, not like now. So I'll let you start it. Well, you want to go to 1947 when Joe and the guys started the firehouse?
oh, sure. Tell us about this.
Okay, in 1947, my husband and several of the other men started the volunteer fire department. It was Pattonville, Bridgeton Terrace.
And up till then, there was no organized fire
No.
department of any kind?
They didn't have a firehouse at night. There was a filling station or a service station, whatever you want to call it, next to Mrs. Lucas's house, across
Wait.
from Brannick's.
Right where the Walgreens store is now.
And they let them put the fire truck in there at night
The
until
Texaco
the
station.
firehouse was built and they had a place to put the fire truck.
So where was the firehouse built?
Fifi, the one that's there now,
Oh, okay.
That was
Yeah.
the original.
that was the original.
Wow.
That was the first one.
Yeah, and like Bob said, we had 3 of us women had fire phones in our house.
Now, what's a fire phone? Can you tell
Well, it
us?
was a regular telephone, but when a fire was called in, fire phone rang, the phone rang that was connected to the fire department. We had our phone plus that phone.
So you wouldn't have used that for social calls or
No, no,
We had
anything?
our own
Emergencies.
phone. And then we had a button to push that set the siren off at the firehouse. And then we each had so many men we had to call that were volunteers. And at night, well, years later, we lived on Midview, my husband and Grandma and I, his mom and I. And we had a system going when I set the siren off, called the man, Joe got dressed, Grandma opened the garage door for him, and Joe took off. And like Bob said, he would be out all night and go to work the next day. The only thing really bothered him, if he worked an accident, that it was a child,
Uh-huh.
and he had it. That was hard.
You know, these days, so many of the firemen are also emergency medical technicians.
Oh,
In those days, did the volunteer firefighters have any medical training?
I think they had Red Cross.
Did they?
Because they had an emergency.
They had Red Cross.
I think it was a 54 Ford with a cab built on the back of it that they could transport people.
In lieu of an ambulance, you mean?
Well, Collier's and St. Anne's was down in St. Anne's at that time. And Bob and Tom,
The funeral people.
funeral
Yeah.
people, yeah, they drove an ambulance. I think it was a
Bob couldn't
50,
have, he was too young.
oh my, well, they drove an ambulance. It was a 57, I think, Pontiac. It was white, and they transported a lot of people from the Bridgeton Terrace.
That was their
or Pattonville,
way of
Bridgeton Terrace,
transporting people, was Colliers
that were, really bad.
ambulance.
Okay, all right. Where'd they take him? Where was the hospital? Where was the closest
They
hospital?
usually went to St. Joseph and St. Charles.
Because we didn't have DePaul
No.
Hospital here.
Right,
So St. Charles, St. Joseph's,
that
and,
was the closest one at that time.
well, that's very interesting.
Did any emergency cases go to Dr. Hangen, who's
Oh,
your
gosh,
neighbor
yes.
here?
Yeah.
I did.
You did?
I got hit in the eye with a baseball one night walking on the Layman, and my sister took me there because I had glasses on, and it broke my glasses. Ended up that I had a broken nose too.
Oh, my. And where was the doctor located?
Can you tell us where Dr. Hangen's was?
On St. Charles Rock Road, it's part of it now, I think it's part of Fifi Children's Home. That
Oh,
white
Is that
building.
right? Okay.
Yeah,
And was that also his home?
yeah,
Okay.
he had his practice.
So
in
like
his home.
Dr. Payne lived in the Gentry house.
yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Hangen lived in the Hangen house.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you work while, after the restaurant, did you work somewhere else?
I worked at St. Louis County Cleaners.
Where
until
was
I
that
got-
located?
Until I got married, that was in Overland. I don't know how long I worked there, but after I got married, I didn't work anymore.
You had
And
a streetcar right in front of your
Yeah, Yeah.
house, basically, so you can get
Yeah.
back and forth.
I wasn't
Pretty
here then. I took the bus,
Uh-huh.
but then I was living on Midview when I worked at St. Louis County Cleaners.
Uh-huh.
what was your mail? How was your mail when you lived on Midview?
Well, that
Did they
was-
have mail
I'm
delivery?
sure that was Pattonville then, but when Joe and I lived on the Rock Road, after we got married in his mom and dad's house, that was Robertson.
But did they have mail delivery to each
Yeah,
house?
door.
Yeah, there was a car. We had
But it was
post-
on the door, wasn't out the street,
No,
still is
we
at
had
the
mail-
door.
We had mailboxes at the street.
Yeah,
When did that change then?
it did, I remember.
We had mailboxes at the street.
When they lived on Midview, the mailboxes
Oh,
were on
mailboxes
the
on the
houses,
street.
on the Rock Road, they were on,
You had a choice on Midview after Joe and I and Grandma moved there. You could have a box at the street or a box on your house, but that doesn't go way, way back. I mean, it does as
it
far
might
as
have
young
been,
people.
it might have been in the 50s.
Yeah. I'm going back to the 40s when it was on the Rock Road and it was Robertson.
And you said your husband was construction, so did he work all over in the St. Louis area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he worked at the Chrysler plant, helped build that.
And let's talk about your son, Bob.
Yeah.
And when were you born, would you mind?
1947.
And you were born in this area, well,
St.
at the
Charles.
hospital,
St.
but,
Charles, yeah.
and where did you go to school?
Yeah,
The same
same school my
as-
dad did. It
Wow.
was located, the grade school was located right where the Bridgeton Street Department is. That was a grade school at that time.
Okay.
And the one that's across from it, that's the, that was-
Credit union?
The credit union, that was the new grade school. But I was already in 6th grade at that time. That was gonna be the new school.
So your school was called Pattonville, and you were basically on the left side.
Right where the street department is.
And did you continue on in Pattonville?
Sure.
And graduate from Pattonville?
Yes, 65, I went to Pattonville to the original high school, which was up on St. Charles Rock Road, across from Northwest Plaza.
That was still there when you graduated?
Yeah,
Were you in any activities in school? Any outside activities?
not really.
Did you work out? Did you work, while you were in school, like
No.
so many people
No,
did?
I graduated from school and I did a couple small jobs that I wasn't happy with at the time. Then I went to rank and trade school and I took welding and I got a job with the pipe fitters. And I went to work for outside construction.
That's the same union.
Same
his
union my
was.
dad was in. I did that for like 4 or 5 years and then I got a chance to get down at AB.
So were you still a pipe fitter?
Yeah, I was a pipe fitter down at Anheuser-Busch, and I did maintenance for him, and I also did control work for him. And I yeah, I guess 34 years, 35 years down there.
So did you retire
Yeah,
from?
I retired at 55.
Really good thing to retire from.
Yep, that was a good job.
Let's talk to your wife, Sharon.
Mm-hmm.
And Sharon, were you from this area?
No,
Okay, where were you? Where did you start out? Let's say.
California.
Wow, you're from California.
Mm-hmm.
And what brought you to St. Louis?
My dad was, he worked for GE and he was transferred out here.
Oh, I see. And so,
Yeah.
how old were you at that time?
13.
So, did you live here in Bridgeton then, or just St. Louis?
Kirkwood, went
We
on.
lived in Kirkwood about 6 months and then we moved to Carrollton.
Oh,
Yeah, then we moved to Bridgeton.
so then did you finish school here in?
Yes, Pattonville. Mm-hmm.
And when did you meet your husband?
I think when I turned 16.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we've been married, what, 45 years?
yeah, 45 years.
So were you in the same class at Pattonville?
No,
No.
I was a year
Yeah.
behind.
Uh-huh.
But
Did you
did
met
you
at
know
school,
him
maybe?
from school?
A little bit. No, I knew a lot of his friends before I knew him.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you, when you were maybe dating, was the amusement park still up and running? Did you ever go to
No.
the amusement
No.
park? No?
The only one we went
There
to,
was one,
Hill.
Holiday Hill, I
Holiday
think it
Hill.
was, over on
Holiday
Natural,
Hill.
over on Natural Bridge, and then there was, where was the one that was on up of Riverview?
Page.
No,
Chain of
Riverview.
Rocks?
Chain
Chain
of
of
Rocks.
Rocks.
Yeah, that's where we
Chain
used
of
to have our
Rocks,
school
or-
picnics.
Yeah.
Do you have children also?
Yes, we have three girls.
And did they go to school in Pattonville as well?
Yeah. And we have one grandson, so 4 generations.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, what are the names of your girls?
Bobby Jo, and she's married and lives in St. Charles. She's got 2 kids. And Jolie lives in St. Charles, and she has, Bobby's got 1. Jolie's got 2. And Stacy's, our daughter, lives in Bridgeton, lives in Bridgeway. And she's got a son and remarried, and she's got 3 stepchildren. And he's the one that goes to Pattonville. He's our other grandson. Yeah.
So you have several generations
Yeah.
that are Bridgeton
Mhm.
residents, and do your grandchildren take part in any of the activities Bridgeton offers?
Yeah, these 2, the 2 that are here just came back from the park program.
Good.
Gentry.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, the,
day
what do they
camp.
call it? Day
Day
camp.
The day camp.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. They just started that this week.
Well, I know there are a lot of other programs that Bridgeton offers, you know, breakfast with Santa and breakfast with the Easter Bunny. I've taken my grandchildren to there, and
Well, one grandson's talking about joining, he's gonna start high school next year. He's gonna join the Key Club.
Yeah.
Kiwanis.
And-
I'm in Kiwanis Club.
We're in Kiwanis.
are you?
Yeah.
Well, can you tell us about what exactly do Kiwanis do? What is the purpose of this
Well,
organization?
It's all basically for.
For the
It's
kids.
for the kids, it's non-for-profit. We raise money for the kids, we give scholarships every year. We even give technical school scholarships. People that-
Fundraisers.
We have fundraisers, barbecues,
Barbecues.
people that are needy, that
Pancake
need it. We
breakfast.
pancake breakfast. We help with community helping ministry up in Arlington. We food drives over at Schnucks. Anything to raise money for the people.
How is that distributed?
Well, they keep the food pantry up at Community Helping Ministry up on McKelvey at Arlington, and to the best of my knowledge, they distribute the food as needed to people.
What kind of fundraisers do you have?
Barbecues, we got
Trivia. We've had
trivia night. We got a senior barbecue coming up, I think in July, down at the ballpark down there.
And the pancake breakfast?
Pancake breakfast.
And
Golf-
Golf tournament.
golf. We just had a golf tournament.
Was that successful?
Yes.
Yeah, it really brings in a lot of money.
Do you do that at Birdie Hill?
No, we used to do it down at Normandy, and we moved out to, I can't think of it, Incline Village.
Wow.
Is where we had this last
That's
2
out
years. We got
West
the-
on 70?
Yeah, we had the last 2 out there.
Well, tell me, I'm not real familiar about what the Key Club, that's for the students.
Yeah,
And tell me, what do they do?
they credit hours, service hours, which helps them, and like we have the concert at the park,
Yes.
now starting, and the kids work up there. They sell candy to raise money.
I bought some.
Yeah.
I bought some goodies when I was at the concert. I can't resist.
Yeah, and older folks were selling barbecues.
Sure.
Yeah, that was
that's our
the
people.
quantity.
Tom until,
Tom until
Yeah.
Fehrenbach.
We were out of town.
We were out of
We're
town.
usually there too.
We're usually there.
How did you-
probably know my late father-in-law, Ed Banker.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
I've
Yeah,
known
married
him
to
for so
Jenny.
many
Yeah.
years.
Matt.
Matthew,
Yeah.
he was just here this week.
Sure.
Now, besides Bob and Sharon, do you have other children?
No,
Okay,
we just had the one.
I see. And how long have you lived here on Taplin? This is a new, relatively
This
new, isn't
This is
it?
about 11 years old.
We've
We
been
lived
here 10.
10 years.
Yeah,
Is this considered a condo or,
Villas.
a villa.
and you've been here 10 years?
10 years, yeah.
Are you happy with it here?
Yeah, it's, yeah, I am.
Where did you live previous to this?
We were in Maryland Heights for a few years, then we moved back because it wasn't the same.
Well, that's kind of interesting
We
to
lived
hear
in-
you say
Lived
that.
in Bridgeway
Bridgeway, 20
originally.
years.
We lived in Bridgeway 20 years.
Yeah.
Off of St. Charles.
You're far enough from the Rock Road here that you don't get much traffic.
No, it's not bad at all.
No.
No.
And you fortunately missed it out on the tornado. Pretty much.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
we
lost,
got a lot of debris.
we got a lot of
Yeah.
stuff,
From it.
residuals
Yeah.
blown in,
Yeah.
and trees were down, but
Not like
nothing
we
like
had.
home in the States. I mean, they got really
We
bad.
only lost trees,
Yeah, trees.
a little bit of siding and, yeah, not much.
Well, I noticed all the plants and all the flowers out here when we came in. You're on a cul-de-sac
That
here.
would be mine.
Oh, are you the one that does that?
That's mine.
How nice,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And so, is that just whatever you would like to do?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that-
you have to maintain it, water it, and weed it and
Yeah, right,
everything?
yeah.
Mhm.
See, that's her passion, flowers and stuff she loves.
I also enjoy that as well. Well, getting back to Agnes, while Bob was growing up and you didn't work outside the home, were you involved in any organizations or,
Fire department was my thing.
That kept her busy.
really? It kept you really
That kept me
busy?
We couldn't even go to the store without calling one of the other
To
girls
make sure there was
to
coverage.
make sure somebody was home.
Wow.
And then I played baseball with, my husband and I both did play baseball with him and his friends at night. Ended up breaking my foot,
And we had like, on Midview, we had like a half-acre lot.
acre and a half.
Huh?
We had over, we had an acre.
Okay.
You had land.
Well, we had a house and then a lot next
So
to it.
it had a side lot next to it.
We interviewed a lady on, was it Falcon? Margie Tempe. Do you know her?
What's her name?
Margie Tempe. Did you know who she is?
No, but I know the Branickies that you said you interviewed.
Well, we have talked to Roy and Betty,
Yeah, I know them.
and they have a beautiful house on
One Falcon.
Falcon.
Yeah.
Right.
We've known them a long time.
And we're hoping to interview some of the other Branicki members
Oh,
as
you
well.
have a bunch around the block.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all on Raymond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heidi,
Their oldest
Jimmy,
daughter
Tommy.
was
Yeah.
our maid of honor in our wedding.
Yeah.
And
Really?
Heidi was our flower girl.
No kidding. Why is that?
Well, they lived up
They
the
lived
street
in-
from me in Carrollton.
Carrollton, they lived right on the corner
Went to
of
school together.
Uh-huh.
Gist.
Mhm.
Right where Mrs. Telsher lived.
Yeah.
They lived right across the street from her.
And that's where you lived in Carrollton.
On Bonfils.
I see. Oh. Are you same age as Heidi?
No, Heidi's young. Madeline was
Madeline
my age.
Oh.
is the
Yeah.
same age. She was in.
Yeah, Heidi was our flower girl.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. Well, maybe one of these days we can also interview Heidi.
Mhm.
Yeah, she has a lot of stories.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
Well, tell us more about the volunteer fire department. I keep kind of, jumping around, but this is really a fascinating topic. Right now they're actually starting to build
I
a
know.
new firehouse on St. Charles Rock Road.
And they're gonna tear the other one down and it makes me sick to think about it.
Because it was the original.
That was the original name that they.
That was the
guys
original
told.
firehouse.
But it's gonna be torn down, they tell me.
And where's the new one to be?
Right across from Mark Twain Lane, where the tornadoes came through. Right
Oh,
down
okay.
the west of All-Star Dodge.
Okay.
How did, where were the funds for the firefighting equipment? How did they get the funds for those?
Well, I can't tell you where it all came from, but I know I would go door to door, a bunch of us would, and ask for like $10 a year for
Collection.
a collection to help make a payment on the fire truck. I did that many times.
Were people, nice about
People
it?
were nice about it. Some people couldn't, some people were really nice about it. That's how they got the money for make a payment on the fire truck.
Cause I'm sure that's a very, very big expense.
Yeah, that was, what, 1947?
47, yeah.
That they bought the first fire truck.
No, if you wonder if we could keep it, the building,
I wish they would, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
No.
some good fairy would have to come along
I
and
think
Yeah,
so.
well,
grant
if-
3 wishes kind of
I-
thing.
I think so.
It's just,
You know, it's very hard for a city to maintain many buildings for historical
Yeah.
purposes. We are involved in maintaining the Payne Gentry House. Have you been through there?
oh yeah.
Yes.
Somebody I knew lived there years ago.
Really?
Friends of ours.
Rented it?
Mm-hmm.
Mulcahy's.
Yeah,
Who was that?
Richard Mulcahy. and
Rich
his wife.
Mulcahy and his wife.
He was one of the volunteer fire department too.
And they were living in the Payne Gentry
They
House.
rented the Payne Gentry house.
Were you ever able to go see them when?
Oh, sure.
What was the house like at that time? Do you remember?
Well, they'd gone back a long time, but I can kind of see the rooms.
Yes. Uh huh.
Yeah.
What were the years spanned, do you think?
In 50s or
Probably
60s?
in the 50s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In the 50s.
Did they have a back porch, a screened-in porch at that
I
time?
think so. I think there was.
Well, we've talked to Elizabeth Gentry Syed, who's the direct heir to the Gentry family, and she spent summers there growing up. Her father wanted her to, you know, see and be part of what his family, you know, did. And she told us they had a back screen porch on there, and they would sleep out there in the summer because, you know, St. Louis is very hot.
Mhm.
Do you remember anything at all else about the grounds at all?
Not really.
And of course, the community center wasn't there at that
Oh,
time.
gosh,
No,
no.
no. That wasn't even a thought at that time.
On the Rock Road, there wasn't hardly anything when we were living on the Rock Road.
I mean, I can still see Charlie Brannicky when he owned the store at the time, and Grandma Brannicky. And Lyle Downs was working there at that time, and the siren would go off. Charlie dropped what he was doing in the store and sprinting down to the firehouse, and Lyle would be right beside him.
And a lot of times Joe would stop and pick 'em up.
Pick
Pick 'em up.
them up
Take 'em
sometimes.
right.
Charlie, most of the time, he'd sprint down to the firehouse.
Yeah.
Because their home was right adjacent to it, right west of where Brannicky's Hardware is now. They had a white frame house that was there, and Charlie owned that.
But Ray Meyer was one of them that
Yeah,
had
his
started.
Norma lives here in the back of the complex here.
And
Who is that?
Ray Mayer, Ray and Norma Mayer. He died about, what, 4 years ago maybe?
4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably 5. And
Matter of fact, supposedly they have a picture up in the government center of the Evening Star restaurant. I was told it was gonna be put back up.
We'll have to ask about that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that have been moved over to the
Right.
new place and they're not quite settled
Not
yet.
Not finished.
And on the picture is Joe, my husband, behind the bar, and his mom, and a friend of theirs.
Uh-huh.
And I think I've got another one someplace, but I don't want that other one lost.
Yeah.
Because that's really.
Because I told them when they were rebuilding that the government center, if they did put that up, I wanted it back.
Yeah, we were looking at the flagpole
Mm-hmm.
that was up at the old
Right,
city hall.
where they had all the stones,
Yeah,
the
the
Kiwanis.
Kiwanis put up.
Yeah, they're
And
supposed to put
they're,
that back.
they're in place, but they're not, correctly put together yet, because
Right.
the flagpole isn't in.
Sure,
Is he
But there's-
talking where our stone
There's a hole
is?
for it.
No, this is the Kiwanis.
Okay, we have a stone at that, wherever that one is, close to Natural
the
Bridge.
church,
Next to John Calvin Church.
you know, they had pavers put
They
in
had
there.
pavers put in.
Uh-huh.
When did they do that?
Oh, gosh.
Oh gosh, that's been years ago. It says Duisens, and I think,
Yeah,
Joe
People-
Hack
people
is Bob and
donated
Sharon
money, I
and
think.
family.
yeah.
For John Calvin?
No, it was
No, no.
before.
It was before it was even
that
John
one, yeah.
Calvin. They have several pavers down there. People donated money from their families, you know, to have pavers put in that had been deceased. There's a whole bunch of them down there.
But I think it was more family names.
Yeah, right.
But I think Lyle had something to do with it,
Well, he might have.
so I thought it was Kiwanis.
Is that where they have several different signs
There's a-
about Bridgeton?
Well, it's right at
Right where
Natural
the,
Bridge and the Rock Road.
right
on
where the
right
flag
side.
is, there's
Mhm.
all kinds of pavers
Yes,
around there.
okay.
That's not Kiwanis, that's not the
No,
Kiwanis.
that's not Kiwanis.
I don't know who started it, but,
That's been a long time ago.
and did you know that Pattonville and Bridgeton was originally called Anglin?
Anglem. And do you know why? Do you know where that
No,
name was
because it
from?
goes way back before I was here, but I found that out from somebody else.
Mhm. Well, there was an Anglem station
That's
where the
probably-
railroad stopped, isn't that right?
Okay,
Right.
that's probably.
Near
why.
Lindbergh, or
Right.
on Lindbergh.
Mhm.
Now, you had mentioned earlier about the big fire of Westlake Quarry and that your husband was involved in putting out the fire. Did you find, you want to tell us about that? Why, do you know how it was started? Did they ever?
I don't know how it started, and Joe wasn't actually at the fire. He was on the radio at the firehouse. And we only had one car, and it was dinner time. So we lived on Midview, and I walked from Midview up to the firehouse with his dinner, and then walked back.
That's another thing I forgot about too. We had our own dispatcher and somebody had to
Joe
stay
was the
behind.
dispatcher,
That
and
night,
he
you're
had to
right, he
stay
was there.
at the firehouse. How it started, I really don't know.
And how long did did it take to
Well,
put?
it was over a whole day.
Oh, it was a long
And
time.
it was still burning the next day.
There's a lot of wood there.
Yeah, it went up quick too.
When the fire was put out, what happened? Did the owners just decide just to leave it go and?
That's what I assumed.
That's
It
what
was
I-
a total loss. I mean, there wasn't
I'm
anything
assuming.
left of it.
Well, we have heard from other people that they would have like marathon kind of dances
I
there,
think they did.
but you were never there?
No. My husband used to go roller skating down there
Yeah.
when he was a kid.
Yeah, we had our school picnics there, and I loved to
Yeah.
stay in the roller rink,
Yeah,
Was
or the
it?
fun house. They had great sliding boards in the
Yeah.
fun
yeah.
house.
Well, Sharon, let's talk to you for a little while. When you were in school and in Pattonville, were you in any other activities?
I was on student council and in volleyball, played volleyball and,
Did they have girls intramural?
no, this was just after school. At that time they didn't. Now they do probably, they have the different sports, but it was just something you stayed after school and did.
Mm-hmm. Did you have part-time job while you were in school?
No. Well, other than babysitting.
For who? Just people.
Just, yeah.
Okay. What can you tell us about remembering when Northwest Plaza started and was built? That must have been a very, very big event.
Oh, we
Here.
were in high school, and I had heard at one time they offered that property to Pattonville for a new school, and they turned it down. And then Northwest Plaza went in there.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you remember what was there before?
Was that just farmland, or
Oh, there was
a?
Sorry, Sharon, there was a dairy,
That's what we.
Adams Dairy.
Yeah, that's what we had heard.
Yeah.
There's a dairy.
Adams Dairy,
Yeah, I didn't remember that.
yeah.
No.
That
Well-
goes back before there.
Well, because the school was basically right across
Right.
from Northwest Plaza, did you watch it actually being built? Because at that time, Northwest Plaza was all these individual
Yeah,
stores,
right.
not connected under one
Right.
roof, but
Yeah.
the individual. So did you see the work and could you see?
Oh yeah, you watched it go up because it was unbelievable because there wasn't anything like that. You know, that was,
the premier one.
yeah, that was the biggest one they ever done. So it was pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
It was all open when it first was
Yeah.
built.
Did you shop there often?
Oh yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
But you never worked there at any of the
No.
stores?
No.
Well, when you graduated then, what did you do after graduation?
Got married. And then I did childcare. Yeah, I did childcare out of my house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did work at Bridgeton Community Center and their Mom's Day Out program for 3 years. And I used to do different things up there. Well, I did a lot of their programs up there.
You worked at that library for a while.
Yeah, I worked at the library for a year, but mostly childcare out of my house. I did for 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
50?
50.
Oh my. Was the community center not the present community center when you worked there?
No, it was that one when I worked there.
Yeah, it was that one.
It was the
one on
present
Cape-
community center.
And the library was Bridgeton Trails Library in its present location?
Yeah, I
On-
think the
on McKelvey Road?
the other community center was where the school was.
Yeah.
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 That's
Before they built the
I
new
can't
one.
remember.
Yeah,
The library you worked at was up close to Brannigan's.
yeah, that was off the Rock Road in the back.
Near Fifi Road is,
It's down a ways from.
I think it was in St. Anne's, wasn't it?
It's
Sharon?
no, it's on the same side as Brannigan's.
I can't,
down a
I
little
can't
bit.
remember.
It's kind of set in the back behind that. What's that little bar that's there? Penalty box or something.
Yeah, the penalty box.
Okay, it's behind there. You can't actually see it from the road.
Oh, I know what
it's
you're
set
talking
back.
about. It's called
It's a-
Midwest Library,
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not really a public library,
No,
is
it's
it?
not a public library. It's a big like warehouse type. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. I
Um,
worked there for about a year.
Well, tell us a little bit, thinking back to Brannicky Hardware, now it still has some remnants of the old-fashioned hardware store, but thinking back to when you were growing up, what was Brannicky like? What would you have gone in there to buy?
Huh.
Okay, when we got married,
Which was what year?
Six- 66.
we grocery shopped in there.
Yeah, there was an I-
Groceries.
There was an IGA.
And you paid your
grocery.
bill at the end of the month,
mhm,
and they had a little post office in there.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Elvira worked in there as
yeah,
Yeah.
postmaster.
The post
So you
office.
bought groceries there?
yeah. Yeah, there was a little swinging door between the hardware
Yeah.
store and the IGA store.
The post office was first, and then the hardware store, and then the grocery store. If you're like heading east.
So you could really get everything from scoop to nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
still
still,
can.
you
You
still
still can.
Especially Branniky's. I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing else like that. I mean, their hardware store, anywhere else that you can't find something,
Yeah.
go to Branniky's and they'll
And
have
that
it.
really hasn't changed much.
No, no.
No, it was just really sad when the store burnt down though.
Well, when did that happen?
Well, more than once, wasn't it?
Oh,
yeah,
they had
couple times.
they had a fire prior to that, but the one that that was the demise of it, what's it been, about 20 years?
Oh, I can't even remember.
Might even be longer than that,
Probably
because your
longer.
dad, I think. was-
In the
Cause- 'cause Li-
60s?
Cause Lyle was up there when the store caught on fire, and he wanted to go in, well, naturally, they wouldn't let him, cause they knew where the fire was. And, that was the end of the store
Well,
as
and
it was.
didn't Lyle and Shirley live
And
upstairs?
Lyle and Shirley used to live
Lived
above the store,
upstairs, above the store,
Where does Lyle live now?
Harmon Estates.
Harmon Estates.
And
Do
we
you think that he would let us interview him as well?
No, I'm sure he probably would.
We would like to maybe get in
I'm
touch
sure
with
he's
him.
got a lot of good stories for him. That store was his life.
Yeah.
He was really close to Grandma Brannicky.
He's our family appliance connection.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
who is Grandma Brannicky?
Was Charlie's mother.
And what is her name?
Libby is what I know
Libby,
about.
yeah, Libby.
I'm sure it probably was Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
but I knew her by Libby.
Did you and Joe attend any churches here in Bridgeton?
Oh, we got married in, like I told you, St. Gregory, and then we went to St.
Kevin's
Kevin's,
for a while.
and there was no Catholic church right here in Bridgeton.
What about
St. Mary's?
St. Mary's?
Oh, I went to St. Mary's when I lived with my sister and brother-in-law,
Mhm.
but we couldn't get married there because Midview was actually St. Gregory's,
Yeah, the
Parish.
boundaries were different.
so we had to get married at
You
St.
had to
Gregory's.
stay within your line.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
so we kept going to St. Gregory's, and then St. Kevin's, and then we go to
Holy Spirit.
Holy
Used to be
Spirit.
same place.
But we did get married at St. Lawrence.
Yeah,
Did you?
Father Holland married us. He was
Yeah.
awesome.
And my
Same with
husband
us.
was buried
It was
from
great.
Holy. Well, it was same place when my husband died, which was 1993.
He passed away in 1993.
Who was that?
Her husband.
Oh, yeah.
Joe.
Well, is there anything else, if you close your eyes and think about Bridgeton back in the days when you were growing up, and like Bob and Sharon, because you did go to Pattonville, you were here through school, can you just kind of close your eyes and kind of picture what say the Carrollton Shopping Center was like, and tell us a little bit about
I
that?
had something way before that. I don't
What's
know
that?
how I forgot it. You know where the Gundicker store is?
The what?
There's a Gundicker Realtor up on the corner of Raymond, right across from Walgreens. That used to be Sharp's Restaurant. And I
Okay.
used to hang out up there all the time.
When you say used to hang out, what do you mean?
No, I mean, we'd go up there, we'd
Go
get
up there.
hamburgers, it was like a 50s,
It was more like a
restaurant.
diner, wasn't it?
huh?
Is that
Like
the
a
white
diner?
building that's still there
The
now?
white building that's still on the corner of Raymond, I mean,
And it's called Sharps.
it was called
Sharp.
Sharp's, Sally Sharp and Pop Sharp and Grandma Sharp. They made fantastic malls, hamburgers.
Yeah.
They had like them, I can't even think of them, but the things on they had like menus. You'd flip through them on the tables like
Mhm.
back in the 50s. And I was up there all the time. I loved that place.
Well, the one daughter had him spoiled.
Yeah, Sally.
She
Sally
put him
Sharp.
up on a chair and let him play
Jukebox?
those machines that you pull.
Pinball.
Pinball
Oh,
machines.
pinball machines, yeah.
Because he was
She'd
too
give you a
little to
nickel
reach
or
it,
whatever
so
it
she
was
put
to
him
play
on a
them.
chair.
But I was up there a lot of times, all the time.
Are you connected in any way with the fire department now?
No, it's not volunteer
okay.
anymore.
No.
It's all union now.
When did it go change over? Do you know?
I don't remember.
I honestly don't. I don't remember either.
Well, you know, they have a lot of very high-tech things these days. We went to an open house at the fire department there on Taussig. That's Robertson.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah, that's
you know,
one of the newer ones, yeah.
that was quite
Matter-
impressive.
Matter of fact, I think the one at their city's gonna go down too, if I'm not mistaken.
Go down, like
What
not
do
be
you
there
mean?
anymore?
Not be there. What I had heard, they're gonna build this one. They're gonna tear the one down at Earth City that we have that's Bridgeton's. They're gonna move it closer to Harris and supposedly Robertson's, the fire department you're talking about, is gonna take that area in and they're gonna move ours further down toward Harris. They're gonna build another one after they get
Harris,
this one
being
done.
the casino on
Yeah.
the side of the river.
Right. That's what I was
Boy, they've got a
told.
lot of warehouse exposures to
Yeah,
take care of in Earth City.
yeah,
It's hard
that's
to
what I
imagine.
had heard. I mean, they passed that big bond issue, I think 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, to buy new equipment and build new firehouses. Well, I heard they're gonna build 2 of them.
Mhm.
When your daughters were growing up, did they go to the Bridgeton pool in the summer?
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
But it wasn't the big aquatic center it is now, it was it?
No, no.
Can you tell us what it was like? What do you remember it was like?
I think they only had one swimming pool.
Just
right?
one, yeah, I think, and the baby pool.
And maybe a baby
Yeah.
pool, yeah, it wasn't.
But they
it
did go to
wasn't
the
enough.
park program.
And it was free at the time.
At the time, it was free.
To go to the swimming pool was free?
The park program
The
was
park
free.
program was free. Matter of fact, they had bus service, didn't they?
Bus service.
That's
and
why
they
we
had-
lived in Bridgewood.
They had lunches. They would bring the kids home. And our one daughter cried because she could only go half a day. She was 2.
Well, she loved it. She loved the
She
park
loved it.
program. It was fantastic.
Yeah, my children went from the time they were 3 tiny tots to
Oh, yeah.
maybe 12 because they went to the Oak Valley Park,
Mhm.
which is not available anymore, taken over by the
Right.
airport
Mhm.
control now. What park did your children go to?
They went to Gentry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they went to the one on Fifi.
They
Uh-huh.
did.
Hellabush?
No, they started out at Gentry and later
Is that the
they
one off
went
of
to
Fifi?
Matthews, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
But
went.
they started at Gentry.
Yeah,
Yeah. Because Matthews, I don't think, was there then.
right.
Yeah. But we used to hang around at the Bridgeton pool and the bowling alley,
And
which
Carol-
is still there.
Carrollton Pool is where we hung around a lot.
Carrollton
That's where we
Bowling.
really met.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah, kind of at the Carrollton swimming pool?
yeah, yeah. We met down there.
Was that a popular place?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
definitely.
And when they first started the fireworks, they had it right there on the lot where, right across from Carrollton Shopping Center.
Shopping center, yeah,
That's where they started with the fireworks before it went back to Gist Road
yeah.
and then ended up at BMAC. It just grew every year after
Yeah.
that. Hmm.
So, you were involved with the Carrollton buyout, is that right?
Well, that's where I grew up. No, my mom had already left there, so we weren't, but that's where I grew up.
Her
And then I
dad
got
had-
married.
Her dad had died.
Then I got married, yeah.
So you'd already
But I
moved
know a
somewhere
lot,
else.
yeah. But it's, you know, the whole thing where you grew up and we
Mhm.
got married at St. Lawrence, everything's gone.
Yeah.
It's just kind of sad.
Yeah.
you
It
know.
is.
What's really bothers me about driving through there is you can still sort of recognize the streets, but they've taken down all the street signs.
Right.
It's hard.
Yes.
We went through a couple times and you don't know where you're at
And there
anymore.
was some beautiful homes over there, Carrollton, even Carrollton Oaks, I
You
mean,
know.
that was, it's a shame. I felt sorry for a lot of the people that, you know, they lived there all their life and
Yeah.
they raised their children there.
Which we have a lot of them in here that
Yeah.
were from
From
the
the
buyout.
buyout.
Oh, really?
But
Yeah.
they were pretty old and, but they had to
Bill
put their money
Walker
back
and,
into
Yeah.
something.
well, they said they lived in Bridgeway, we did
Yeah,
too.
he was in our Kiwanis Club.
Yeah, I know.
Lorraine?
Yeah, with Lorraine, and they moved into a condo. And
Right.
Yeah, they're
Over off
over
of
He
Kelby.
could
in
hardly
Autumn.
see, and
Autumn Lakes.
fell off
Autumn
of
Lakes.
his wheelchair, you know,
Right.
the elevator thing,
Mhm.
and that was his undoing.
Right,
And that was, so his early death was indirectly caused by
Right.
the buyout.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's a sad,
yeah,
sad
it's
story.
sad.
yeah.
Anyway, when we lived in Bridgeway, we lived on Taylor, was one house between ours
On
and theirs.
Springford,
They lived on Springford and our grandkids could just run back and forth to.
For
from their
20
house to
years
our
we
house.
lived there, yeah.
Well, what took you out of Bridgeway then?
A bigger
Anything?
house.
a bigger house, and it was
With three
really, it was
girls.
really kinda silly because we moved, we wanted to get a bigger home, so we had a home custom built over by Holy Spirit, cause we were in that church. We thought it would really be convenient.
And keep the kids in the same
Keep
school
the kids
district.
in the same school district, so we built over there and, within 5 or 6 years, you know, the girls were getting bigger, they were moving out, they were getting jobs, so there we were, we had 2,100 square feet just
Yeah.
sitting there in a home.
What
So,
street was that?
Blazer,
Oh, Springford on,
oh,
Springford and,
she meant
Bridgeway?
Maryland Heights, didn't you?
oh.
Yeah, it's Blazer, right
Blazer.
across from the soccer
Yeah.
park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So our
Yeah.
property backed right up to the
Oh, yeah.
St.
Did that
well,
street
St.
name have
Blaise,
anything to do with the name St. Blaise?
probably,
Because it was right
Yeah.
next to it.
Well,
pro-
yeah,
probably
they kind of let them name it.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
There was a guy
Because-
that had that property there. It was like they had horses on that property, and they built him a home for
And
the price
before
of
the
his house.
sign went up that they were going to put houses in there, I forget how many were from the church.
Oh, majority
You
of them
know,
were.
So they kind of let them name the street,
Uh-huh.
so,
I always think about that when I drive by there. and
Yeah.
It seems like a coincidence,
yeah.
or too much of a coincidence.
Now it's a different name, now it's Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
We talked, I don't know if it was before the camera started rolling, about the recent tornado we had here in Bridgeton. And fortunately, it wasn't right here
Right,
where you are on Taplin Court, but it was very close, wasn't it?
Right.
yes.
How close, sir, how far would you say you are from here to the Harmon
Harmon.
Estates area?
Maybe 2 minutes,
Yeah.
driving time,
Yeah,
if that even
and it
that
did
long.
hit behind Branke's.
Yeah, it hit behind Branke's, it hit up on the
So
rock
it
road.
was,
I mean, it took a
you know,
path through there, you could see.
We had a lot of debris in here.
When you say debris, what do you mean exactly?
Well, we had ceiling tiles,
Roof shingles,
roof shingles, siding, that we knew wasn't from
insulation.
here.
Well,
Insulation.
I mean, it looked like it happened here, but it didn't. It was
Just
from,
probably from Harmon Estates.
yeah, probably Harmon.
Did you find, or did you know if any of your neighbors found any personal things? Because every once in a while you'll hear somebody's,
The only story we heard was about a man over at the airport that lived in Harmon Estates. And
Lost his house.
he lost his house, he worked at the airport. When he went to the airport, he found a piece of glass that was laying in the main terminal, and his daughter's picture was mashed against it.
They
oh,
found that.
Wow.
Well, didn't Craig find somebody's paycheck?
Yeah,
Their son-in-law.
a paycheck?
yeah. In here when he was,
Cutting, he
he
cuts
does,
the property
he
over
does
there.
the property cuts and,
He mailed it back to him.
Wow.
and then a friend of mine in Harmon, she wanted us to come get her that night.
About
And
1
all the
o'clock in the
streets were
morning.
closed. We couldn't get over
Couldn't even
there.
get over
but
there.
She
Yeah.
was at Lyle's house and she was sitting in her rocking chair and she has a little kitchen, a half wall with shelves with angels on it and a sitting room. And most of her house was gone, the angels weren't touched.
Weren't even moved.
And then a friend of ours lives behind her, he lost 45 trees over 50 years old. And then windows and siding and, yeah.
Down on Mark
Yeah.
Twain.
And where was she during the tornado then? Where did
She was sitting in a rocking chair.
She couldn't physically get down in her basement.
Yeah. So she was.
that must have been very frightening.
It's a miracle she's still here. It's a
Yeah.
miracle a lot of those people didn't get killed.
What about Lyle's house?
He was
Untouched.
fine. On that side, they were fine.
Yeah,
It was the one side that seemed to get it.
like I say, if you go up the Rock Road, if you look, if you're by the viaduct up there on 70, I mean, you can look that way and
And
just
on
see the
Old St.
path that
Charles.
thing took.
Yeah. Old St. Charles.
St. Charles.
Same way.
Yeah,
There
we
might be-
interviewed Alf Stola
Mhm.
a couple of weeks ago. He lives about 2 houses away from the worst of Beaverton.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
So we unfortunately got to see that up close.
yeah.
Do you remember when he
so-
was mayor?
No, Stoll? Yeah, I can when I was a kid, but I can still remember.
I remember.
Do you? Well, it was interesting for me just to find out that he was from Norway.
Oh, I
When
didn't
I'm-
know that.
When I'm trying to remember, who was police chief? Oh, Beck
Beck.
was police chief back then, in the 50s.
His name was Beck?
Beck, his last name.
Beck.
Beck. And he was a good guy, but he was really stern. I mean, he did his job great.
Well, do you recall when the city hall was on Fifi as well? Before the city hall on Natural Bridge was
Oh, yeah.
built?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
The
can't-
original one.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Well, now, of course, our government center is farther down on Natural
Natural
Bridge,
Bridge, yeah.
right next to Beautiful Savior Lutheran Church.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the Schnook store where I worked for 11 and a half years is now
Hindu temple.
a Hindu temple,
Mhm.
which I haven't been able to see yet, but I'd be interested in seeing that.
Yes, they have a lot of people in there.
What year did you work at the Schnuck store there?
I started there in 1981, and I worked for 11 and a half years there at the Schnooks. And I work at a different Schnook store now.
Because after I sold the house, I moved to an apartment. And I think I was at Schnucks every day.
Yeah, she used to live at Brittany Acres for a while.
Uh-huh. Yeah, a lot of people,
Matter of fact, we even lived at Brittany Acres for what, about 6 months? Then we built a house in Bridgewood.
I kept the house for 3 years after my husband died.
Well, you must like Bridgeton if you keep moving around in the same town.
Yeah, it was basically my idea to move, and we moved over there. It wasn't the same.
Well, when I sold the house and started looking for an apartment, I went to Maryland Heights and I couldn't do it.
A lot of
We have
people,
some really
a lot of
good,
people that live there for
feedback
any
there.
length of time. Even Terry Borton, I mean, he was on the council up there. They moved out to St. Charles. So it's not the same.
Yeah,
It's just not the same.
well, we're glad to always meet people with a sense of community because that's important.
Yeah.
And like you know, volunteering through the Kiwanis to benefit the young people, you know, you need people that believe in this and are willing to give their time and their energies to that. And we're glad to hear that your granddaughter, you say, is also involved.
Yeah,
Grandson.
He's gonna join the Key Club next year
Yeah.
when he starts school.
He'll start high school.
Well, when I'm up at the concert, I usually do buy something because
well, yeah, they
because
had good
it's,
burgers last time.
yes,
Yeah.
that, and then, you know, the young people selling all the goodies. So when they just, the parents just donate those and then they
Yeah.
resell. Well, there was a very nice concert last Sunday night. I know I enjoyed it.
This past Sunday, yeah, I missed that one, the blues band.
It was very nice.
Good.
Do you attend most of the
We
concerts?
try and do most of
We
them.
had a function
We
going.
had a function we had to do, telling time we're gonna be out of town, so I told
Yeah.
her we'll do the rest of them. We'll be
Agnes,
there.
have you attended the concerts?
No,
No,
my knees are real bad and I broke
has
the
a-
shoulder.
she has a hard time getting around.
So that's how come I'm here with them.
Well, you're fortunate they have a very, very nice, spacious place that you can all be
Yeah.
together.
It's
And
beautiful.
they're both so good to me, so.
And we have about 3 minutes if left on our hour. If you have any
Yeah.
I can't really.
last thoughts you'd like to share with us.
I can't really think of anything.
Is there anything you would like to see happen in Bridgeton? You know, can you think of something, you know, that you would like, maybe a business to come in and get started?
Some more
Some more
restaurants.
big restaurants.
Yeah, some more
Instead
restaurants
of
other
fast
than,
We're
food.
kind of losing our
other than fast
restaurants.
food places. Yeah, I'd like to see some. I hated it when we lost Culpepper's because I always liked that place, but
Yeah.
they said it wasn't profitable anymore.
More restaurants rather than fast food.
Fast food.
Yeah, yeah.
Was it
And I'd
safe?
sure like to see the plaza come back, but I know that's not gonna happen.
No.
That's a goner.
Well, that'd be St. Anne's.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
part of it's
ours,
Bridgeton.
but not much.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just really convenient when that place was up and going good. You know, I mean, you're 5 minutes from there, drive up there, and you can get anything that you'd wanna get there. So, I hated to see that close down.
Well, thank you so much for letting us come today. It was a
Oh, our
pleasure
pleasure.
meeting all of you and.
This is great. And
That's it.
And Joe is make a copy of the CD and we'll get it to you and that
Oh,
way
great.
Oh,
you'll
that's
have it
wonderful.
and that way if you forget what you said, you can look back on it.
I've been sitting here licking my lips on Thursday.
Oh, will you
Okay.
get your great grandma
well, I'm going to
drink?
turn off the camera now, and then you can have a drink.
Okay,
Thank you very much for your time and
thanks a lot.
Okay, thank
stories.
you.